Allegations tonight of poor maintenance practices at a commuter airline.
News at 9, including possibly dangerous practices at a Chicago airline.
Allegations tonight of poor maintenance raise questions about the airline's safety. We'll have the results of a Fox News investigation. There are allegations tonight of questionable maintenance practices at a commuter airline that could put passengers at risk. The airline has flown for nearly 3 years without an accident, but are its airplanes safe now?
Our investigative reporter Larry Yellen is here with the exclusive story. Larry?
Walter and Robin, the airline is named United Feeder Services. It's one of several airlines that flies under the name United Express out of O'Hare. And just to be clear, our investigation deals only with those United Express planes that are operated by United Feeder Services. For 2 months now, we've been sorting through FAA records and interviewing former company mechanics, some of whom worked there as recently as 8 months ago. They're talking because they're worried that practices they believe are dangerous may still be going on. This United Feeder Services commuter flight destined for central Wisconsin last Friday never got there. Look at that left propeller, barely spinning. The pilot was forced to kill the engine and immediately return to O'Hare because a warning light indicated a problem with oil pressure. Tonight, some mechanics say there ought to be a warning light flashing in every plane operated by United Feeder Services.
The influence was to get the aircraft out on time, take everything else in consideration later.
The devastating scenes from recent plane crashes prompted this former lead mechanic at United Feeder Services Airlines to break his silence. He says he's been haunted by images of families, business travelers, and vacation goers flying in United Feeder Services planes that he believes were unsafe.
I had very, very rough nights trying to sleep. Everything in general that was going on, that were flying through the air, just waiting for something to happen.
We agreed to protect this mechanic's identity because he continues to work as an airline mechanic. He told us what he had seen while working for 1 year at United Feeder Services, and our Fox News investigation has turned up 6 other former United Feeder Services mechanics with similar stories.
Yeah, always there was pressure on everybody. There was pressure on supervisor, there was pressure on mechanic, there was pressure on inspector, there was pressure on the lead, there was pressure on everybody.
The mechanics claim that supervisors pressured them to sign off on sloppy, unprofessional maintenance work. Michael says he frequently refused and after 7 months was fired for insubordination. In his 19 years as an airline mechanic, he says he's never seen anything as bad as what he saw at United Feeder Services.
He does things just to let things go, you know. We call it either pencil whipper or a butcher.
Pencil whipping involves fudging paperwork on unsafe procedures. Butchers are so named because of their inexperience. The mechanic who first approached us was fresh out of school when he was hired and was promoted to lead mechanic within a few months.
Responsibilities at that time for someone that only has a few months' experience would translate into 10, 15 years' experience at major airlines.
The mechanics we talked with claimed they saw fuel leaks concealed instead of repaired. Gallons of leaking fuel collected in cavities of the wing where it was more likely to ignite. Aircraft overhauls were left unfinished due to scheduling pressures. Nitrogen gas was substituted for hydraulic fluid in the landing gear, increasing the chances that it would collapse. The mechanics say they were even told to use super glue instead of screws to keep critical de-icing boots in place along the leading edges of the wings. So out of the 9 or 10 planes, 5 or 6 of them could have super glue holding together the leading edges?
I would say most of them.
It isn't like your car. You can't go out and put a little safety wire on the whole of the exhaust pipe up. That airplane has to be airworthy. And by doing that, I believe it would take it out of the airworthy class.
Our investigation has, in fact, uncovered FAA records showing that 2 years ago, FAA inspectors warned the airline, but not the flying public, that some of its planes were not airworthy. For example, after this plane flew 54 flights without a functioning intercom in 1994, FAA inspectors reviewed the company's history. They wrote, "In our absence, the management team at United Feeder Services circumvents the FAA regulations. Aircraft are released into service in an unairworthy condition." That was 2 years ago. Tonight, the FAA stands by its standard response on safety issues that if an airline is flying, it is considered safe. United Feeder Services operates out of the United Airlines terminal here at O'Hare. Their planes display the United Airlines colors. So a lot of passengers mistakenly believe they're flying with a major carrier, United Airlines. Was that a United Airlines plane you were on?
Uh-huh.
Is that plane owned by United Airlines?
I believe so, United Express.
No, it's not part of United Airlines. United Feeder Services is a subsidiary of a privately held corporation in St. Louis that has a marketing agreement with United Airlines. According to the union that represents United Airlines mechanics, United Feeder's non-union mechanics are generally less experienced and are paid less than mechanics for United Airlines.
Less experienced mechanics, fearing for their job, tend to side with management.
United Feeder Services turned down an opportunity to talk to us on camera about the mechanics' allegations. The company did send this letter saying United Feeder Services not only meets but exceeds many of the federal air regulations. The allegations, the company says, come from disgruntled former employees and are totally without merit and substantiation. And the airline says it has flown 1.7 million passengers since starting up in 1994 without an accident. The employees we interviewed admit they are disgruntled. None of them felt comfortable putting those United Feeder planes in the air.
A lot of the rewards is seeing the passengers for the first time, their first airplane trip. They're very excited about their flight, and to know the risks that they were putting themselves into, knowing personally, it really made it hard on all the mechanics, knowing that we were responsible for unneeded risks that the passengers were going through.
Again, there are several commuter airlines in addition to United Feeder Services, airlines like Air Wisconsin and Great Lakes Airlines that fly under the United Express banner. The allegations and FAA inspections we've talked about tonight only deal with United Feeder Services. Tomorrow night, an airline tells you they have a perfect safety record, but what aren't they telling you? Again, it's a case of flyer beware. Walter and Robin?
The argument that these are former and disgruntled former workers, you would have to think of, but do they think that the practices at United Feeder Services are different than other airlines?
No, in fact, these mechanics suggested that the work they had seen at other airlines where they had worked, and some of them had worked previously for Air Wisconsin, which then became United Feeder Services. They said when they were at Air Wisconsin, the mechanics were doing good work, they were doing good work they were proud of. When the management ownership changed to United Feeder Services, the entire tenor of the safety situation changed. So they're not totally disgruntled about the mechanics' work. They were disgruntled with what they saw at this airline.
Specific. Okay, Larry, very interesting.